I'd like to begin with a text that I sent out to my priest in reply to him complimenting me on my presentation on the Facebook side of the Southern Tribal Aboriginal Peoples. He still hadn't got to the Franco Collins video. And I sent him this text. And I've sent it to a lot of people here. The Franco Collins video shows clearly how the old traditions of the tribal sacred circles constitute the only valid laws. The rest, constituted on the written laws, immediately places you in the Luciferian hack on the God matrix by the written word based on written alphabets, language, embodying the Luciferian spelling. To learn to spell at school is to put you under the Luciferian hack. The first language to be written was Hebrew, and each letter in that alphabet has a numerical value that gave the Khazar proselytized Jews, who are not the biblical Jews, Revelation 2, the secrets bound up in the numerical Luciferian Hebrew language that caused them to be very successful merchants, the merchant of Venice, and accumulate vast fortunes, so vast as to be enabled to control all religions as the hidden hand of Lucifer, known only to the higher levels that have necessarily been compromised beyond redemption. Even the lawyers aren't told, and they are only made aware after they are made magistrates and judges. To write the law was and is an abomination of Luciferian spellbinding and curses of delusion and magic. The only laws are the oral traditions of the tribes, expressed in the song, the subatomic ancestors, and the dancing the metaphysic of the unborn, Namaste Bejam. My main purpose here is not to break or challenge the law, but to fulfill it. And I'm saying that is the crux of this matter. And as you see on the agenda, I've stated there, and Ellie's put it in, thank you Ellie, that this isn't a matter between black and white, it's a matter between good and evil. And Canberra is a construct, a Luciferian construct. And we are a splinter in the very eye of that construct. And the sister girl knew that is so when she welcomed us to her country. In terms of the law, as I said before, the lawyers aren't taught proper law until they become magistrates or judges. Now, at law, a lot of people don't understand that when their constitutional matters are challenged, the judge or magistrate will recess the court because he's walking out of his maritime hat and he's coming back as a completely different person at canon law. And he then can find you in contempt. But in terms of those two laws, you are now living under the laws of piracy. Under maritime law, by way of letters of marque from the monarch. The oral traditions of the tribes and their sacred circles is the only true law in this country. That's why I'm saying we must nationalise the process during these 5 days and send notice to all the heads of departments of the Commonwealth to attend on the 5th day in order to take our lawful instructions as to what we want done in our country, and the first priority should be the Arunda, Chris Tomlins, to get rid of Pine Gap now to the head of the Defence Department. And I'm sure there are other matters that need to be dealt with, such as ICE, the incarceration rates, which I say can be dealt with now by way of this self-defence package. We can stop our people from going to jail now. This self-defence package is available off the web on the Facebook site Sovereign Tribal Aborigine People. That is my ASIO photo. Bless them. I will read out my self-defence package by way of properly introducing myself at law. Self-defence notice. I am Bejam, Kunmunara, Jalo, Noonuccal, Kabool, son of Ujuru of the tribe Noonuccal, custodian of the land in Canberra, a sovereign, tribal, aborigine person. My passport is enclosed. I am the administrator and executor of the Constructive Trust Corporation known as Dennis Bruce Walker. Registration number 1946 21515. As the administrator and executor of the Constructive Trust represented by my birth certificate, which I attach, I am advising you I do not give you permission for you to use Dennis Bruce Walker in any manner, and you will be liable for any use of Dennis Bruce Walker by you for which you do not have my permission. It is my understanding as a sovereign tribal aborigine person, that I do not stand under your law, and that according to the legislations enclosed the Act of Settlement 1701, the Pacific Islanders Protection Acts 1872, 1875 and 1883, you act unlawfully. Any such actions by the Crown to in any way not respect and enforce my sovereignty and dominion is an unlawful act on me and my family, and we will only comply only under protest and duress, for which you will be held liable, as this will become a transaction of a security interest and creates a liability. There will be a writ and a schedule of fees resulting in a bill of costs. Any disputation at law with me or my family must lie sine die in the Latin, sine die in the Australian vernacular, until these sovereignty and dominion matters are properly settled by way of an informed consent. And I sign off under my mother's stamp that she got made before she died, and changed her name by deed poll to Ujuru of the tribe Noonuccal, custodian of the land in Canberra, who was previously named Kathleen Jean Mary Rusker née Walker. And I also sign off by my legal fiction, which is what is on your birth certificate. They enslave you to their statute laws of piracy under maritime law by way of your birth certificate. The stock market started with the slave trade, and it still goes on today by way of your birth certificate. You are unclaimed property that they have claimed, and you form goods and chattels of the state or false nation state of Australia. because Australia is not a nation state, it is still by law a colony of the United Kingdom. And the head of that state is the Queen. And all the Crown law officers sign allegiance to her, which in fact makes them all traitors to the Australian people. At law. When I told Brian that, it was like I kicked him in the nuts. Don't say that.
You should say who Brian is.
Brian is the liaison officer of the Australian Federal Police that have supported us brilliantly and has helped to maintain the peace on this property, and I compliment them for it. The nation state of Australia, as I said before, is not a nation state but a colony. And what the nation state of Australia really is a black op by Admiralty law, by Admiralty under maritime law, that started with the secret instructions to Lieutenant James Cook. He was not a captain. I went to sea for 6.5 years, and I know that no self-respecting captain would take on board smallpox, leprosy, gonorrhea, syphilis, leprosy, a number of diseases, and these diseases were brought on by the botanist Banks, Joseph Banks, who was a member of the Hellfire Club of the Illuminati, and the designs of Cook and Banks throughout the Pacific was to genocide the native populations so they could colonise it. Thus the secret instructions to Cook, and this is the law they base their law of discovery on, these very instructions. Now, the very fact that they were secret contravened, or is ultra vires too, and ultra vires means that it doesn't lawfully follow, therefore it is unlawful, to the Act of Settlement of 1701. It was in law when Cook took his voyage, and it is law now at Crown Law. And it says very specifically in Clause 7 of that Act of Settlement that no person who shall hereafter come in possession of Crown shall go out of the dominions of England, Scotland or Ireland without the consent of Parliament. Obviously, the instructions being secret, the Parliament didn't know. Ultra vires, unlawful. Secret. He wasn't a captain, he was a lieutenant. And it says clearly in the instructions that he was a lieutenant. The whole captain thing is another illusion like the nation state of Australia. It's a fiction. The second ultra vires, the second thing that doesn't lawfully follow is told to get consent of the natives. The hole in the Guigal Shield proves very clearly that they had no intention of getting consent of the natives. That was just a cover. And what they were there to do is frighten the natives off and put in the smallpox, leprosy, syphilis and gonorrhea, etc. Now if you look who signed off on it, who signs off on this are the Lords of Admiralty, not the monarch, not the UK Parliament, but the Lords of Admiralty, issuing secret instructions in contravention to the Act of Settlement of 1701, Clause 7. That obviously makes it a black op by Admiralty that goes on to this very day. Queen Victoria, God bless her heart and soul and spirit and body and mind and children, took a very hard stance with the UK Parliament and bucked the Illuminati. The Parliament of Westminster has 2 Masonic lodges in it. There are Masonic lodges all here around here too, and this is a construct of the Illuminati, the Canberra, city of Canberra. Yep. Now, Queen Victoria drafted a legislation in 1872, and I'd point out at this stage that in the Mark McMurtry went to the Victorian Parliaments and found the 75 Acts, and about 9 years ago, and Michael Anderson went to the UK Parliament and found the 83 Amendments, and I'm now going to read you the 1872 legislation, because a lot of judges, and I've got a judgment in my vehicle now because I've beat them in the Magistrates Court here, denies that it applied to the Australian mainland. Now, quite clearly, in clause 2 in the second sentence, it says, the term Australian colonies shall mean and include the colonies of New South Wales, New Zealand, Queensland, South Australia, Tasmania, Victoria and Western Australia. That obviously refers to the mainland colonies at that time unfederated. If you then go to the 1875 legislations, you will see in clause 7, Queen Victoria quite clearly states, and the UK Parliament passed it, in clause 7, saving of rights of tribes. Nothing herein or any such order in council contained shall extend or be construed to extend to invest Her Majesty with any claim or title whatsoever to dominion or sovereignty over any such islands or places as aforesaid, or to derogate from the rights of the tribes or people inhabiting such islands or places, or chiefs and rulers thereof, to any sovereignty or dominion, and a copy of every such order in council shall be laid before each House of Parliament within 30 days after the issue thereof, unless Parliament shall not then be in session, in which case a copy shall be laid before each House of Parliament within 30 days after the commencement of the next ensuing session. That was made law then in 1875, and nothing has been done to change it. It is our sovereignty and our domain. Now, Victoria, bless her heart, again made sure of that by drafting the 83 Amendment that Michael Anderson found. And in clause 7 it says specifically, saving rights of tribes, nothing herein or any such order in council contained shall extend or be construed to extend Her Majesty or her heirs and successors, which makes it Crown law now, with any claim or title whatsoever to dominion or sovereignty over any such islands or places as aforesaid, or to derogate from the rights of the tribes of people inhabiting such islands or places, or chiefs or rulers thereof, to such sovereignty and dominion, and a copy of each such order in council shall be laid before each House of Parliament within 30 days after the issue thereof, unless Parliament shall not be in session, in which case a copy shall be laid before each House of Parliament within 30 days after the commencement of the next ensuing session. So, the nation-state of Australia was and still is a black op under maritime law, laws of piracy, by way of letters of marque from the monarch, which goes on to this very day. And it's all unlawful. In terms of being able to use that self-defence package, I've pointed out that any person who is a Southern Tribal Aborigine person can use this self-defence package, because they're all part of my family. Anyone in their hearts can say, I confess that Jesus Christ is come in space, not to change the terms of law, but to fulfill it, particular Leviticus of restoration. It is part of my family. Please feel free to use the aforementioned documents in your dealings with the Crown's representative. Anyone who is a treaty member with me as a sovereign tribal origin or with a sovereign tribal origin person. So, I have been doing treaty, and my benchmark for the treaty has been 10% of their first fruits for the individuals, and I have a number of treaty members, one in New York. And corporations, we must have a controlling interest on any corporation on your country. Therefore, you must have 51% of every corporation on your country. That's what you sign off on. They get 49%. So you can close them down anytime you want. Unless you do that, the corporations are the real evil. They will do you down. That's how Lucifer works, through those corporations. Now, the nation state of Australia has 5 corporations. The real evil is done in the corporate entity. Now, by way of your birth certificate, you're not only enslaved to their statutes.
But if we go that way with the treaty, aren't we given a jurisdiction that they don't hold or own?
If you let me finish,
I mean, if we go into a treaty, we're saying to them here, you have the rights to give me this.
Yep.
Where, as I sit, I say you have no effing rights on this land because we were never lost to be found in the first place. So where would that actually accusation that I'm saying, if it was lost, who lost it? And if you do own power and jurisdiction, show me ownership to my land. This is how I look at society today, and while I'm here, because I say a truth has to come before a treaty. You know?
That's right, that's true.
And I can't see us treaty, and we can't treaty with this government because it's an illegal identity.
And that's my point, exactly what I'm saying. You just confirmed it for me.
Otherwise we're endorsing them.
Yes.
We're endorsing them with power they don't
That they're
have.
not rightful to have, yeah.
If we run with the treaty, I believe if we have a truth first, because the power of the people did put the people into power, and those are the bastards on the hill up there now.
If the facilitator
dealing
could
with.
possibly let me finish
So if we
what
put
I'm
them into
saying,
power, we should be able to,
perhaps these
to take
questions
it off.
would be answered.
Don't vote for it.
Can we continue with Bejam?
Yes.
Can I finish what I'm saying?
I do apologise for that.
Thank you.
I do apologise for that.
It does put me off.
I'll make it up to you. I'll let you keep my. I'll let you keep my boots. I'll let you keep my boots.
Keep going.
I humbly apologise for that, old man. Sincerely.
Well, just for the record, we're 1 in 6 jurisdictions. Queensland, New South Wales, ACT, South Australia, Tasmania and Northern Territory. And it was treaty members that helped me win Tasmania, Northern Territory and South Australia. I did the other 3. In terms of the departments as they exist now, I have been able to instruct the Australian Federal Police at law and have them deliver on time, every time. In terms of docs, I've been able to take my grandchildren or my children who were on ice and have them set up in their own house with the cash flow going to the eldest daughter. In terms of the New South Wales Police, they obeyed my instructions implicitly and explicitly when I had to order them to get my son out of the house that I'd got them because he had an AVO on him. and I had an AVO on him. And the police acted admirably, and they not only removed him, but made sure he paid back the money he got off the kids while he was there. So in terms of the law, government departments, well, I'll just go back a bit to 86. Back in 86, I took out a writ in the High Court claiming my sovereignty of my country. And at the time they were building a bridge across the Stradbroke Island. And the Korean investors had already had land allocated on the island as part of the deal under Russians under the Joe government. Jokey people. When I took the writ out, the Korean investors did the calculations that it would take maybe $1 million in 10 years. They pulled the financing on it. Therefore, I stopped the bridge going across. January before last January, I took a writ out on Adani. And Turnbull wasn't talking to Adani about native title. He was talking to Adani about the writ. And the writ will stand up in law, and Adani will not finance it.
Can you tell us what the writ said?
I've got copies on I can get 2 copies. There should be copies on the Facebook site. But yeah, people should get copies of the writ. I'd like to sit down with some legal brains to go through it and refine it more.
Can I get a copy, do you want?
That writ was taken off of Mark McMurtry, his draft. Although it encapsulates what's necessary at law, it's not as complete as I would like it. But praise be to Mark, he showed me how to do the Pacific Islands Protection Acts, and Michael told us about the 83 legislations who he got from UK. But Mark also showed me how to do the writs, the proclamation of sovereignty, the 2 truth affidavits, and the schedule of fees, followed up by a notice of want of response, and then a bill of costs, which the Queen has got, and she owes me zillions at law. And I sent a letter by way of my priest, which I haven't got here, who met with the Archbishop of Canterbury on the 22nd of March and had it passed on to Her Majesty about settling up by way of foregoing the bill if she signs the treaty now, which gives us the sovereign tribal Aboriginal peoples 51% equity, the colony of Australia 49. That means we would take 51, a controlling interest of every corporation in this country if she signs all that. She's 91, just had a birthday. She might want to get even with God. Do the right thing. And obey her grandmother!
Hi, little.
But as for treaty and enforcing my law, I'm already doing it. And by way of burying my dead on the 5 acres that was granted to my mother by way of peppercorn lease by the government, I was able to establish a lodial title that even predates their statutes. And I did that by burying my brother in the first instance with permission of my mother. 1 week before my mother died, I had a grandchild that died, and my daughter asked permission to bury the baby there, and she gave her permission for that. And then we buried my mother. There's 3 graves on the 5 acres that was given to her as a peppercorn lease, and I have now established established and can assert the lodial title, which predates any of their statutes.
They give you back
So I'm
something you
doing
already
my
own.
land and I'm doing my law. And any of my kids want a block of land, I say just take it and let them prove it's not yours. And my second eldest son has got hectares out at 7 Mile, and my grandson is moving in on my aura, and the rest of them are too bloody slack.
Just a quick question, Dennis. All those documents you have, that specific
Yep.
document you have, who can that be issued to? Just for everyone that don't know, I've already spoken to you about it already.
Yeah, what?
Who does it concern with that particular document? That, what do we call it, redemption document that you have?
The
So that can be served to
self-defense package.
Who can that be served to? Yep.
You put that in front of a judge, they don't want to know about it. They'll dismiss the charge.
Same with the tax man and all that sort of business, all those.
Yep,
sorts of
people have done
that are after
business
money
with
from
taxes and parking tickets
bills and that sort of thing.
and bills and that. See, I use my legal fiction at my convenience. A lot of people have rejected it completely, and I'm saying that's silly. I use my legal fiction to get my pension. I use my legal fiction not to pay registration on my vehicle, but I do pay the third party, even though I could argue I don't have to. But I want to pay the third party because I want to act responsibly. If anyone is injured by that car, I want them fully covered by insurance, and that's what that third party is all about. So, by acting responsibly and using your legal fiction at your convenience is the way to go, I'm saying. But as soon as they infringe on our sovereignty and our domain by way of jailing our children and scaring the shit out of them so they're committing suicide, and I'm saying use it to the maximum. And what I'm saying this self-defense package also does is everyone uses it, they have to come back to the sovereign tribal originating peoples to resolve any disputations at law. So, if they can't put us in jail at law, what do they do with us? They've got to come back to the tribes. Don't use nations. As soon as you go nations, you go into their Luciferian matrix and you're gone. Stay with your tribes. You must listen to your tribal voice. But it's only in the old traditions and the tribal voices that God gets in. The rest is Lucifer's work, including all the churches. Read Revelation 2. The synagogues of Satan, where the Jews who are not Jews.
Any more questions? Any further questions? Do you want to go on to number 2? Bill?
Yeah.
Is that it, Dennis?
Yep, that's it.
Fine with that?
Yep.
Okay.
Thank you very much, brother.
Yes.
Thank you,
no,
Uncle.
Thanks,
Very, very much. Very knowledgeable.
What I'd like to do is hopefully move to those circles of governance. It's also in that self-defense package. Sorry about this. There's a self-defense package at the back. Those circles, as defined there, in those broad sweeps, this captures the essence of the Chukapabu. Would you agree, Chris? Chris? Captures the essence of the Chukapabu. And you need to know that's our way of governance as opposed to their way of governance. Their 4 estates are the monarch, the parliament, the judiciary, and the 4th estate is their media. And there's supposed to be separation of powers, which is bullshit. They're all in collusion because they're all Luciferian led. And they still worship the devil. And I got witnesses that know this here in this town.
Serene, you want to continue or you want to... Alice, you want to continue
I'm
or
sorry,
wait for
I'm sorry.
Serene to come back?
I'll get away.
Do you want to just quickly keep going? Or do you want to have a break?
No, whatever.
No, keep going yet, because we're a bit
Alright.
behind this morning, darling.
All right.
Uncle Dennis,
Yep.
where can people, they be able to get
Sovereign tribal
copies
originating.
from you?
Sovereign tribal originating people. Sovereign tribal originating people's Facebook site. And a lot of documents are on there, including writs. But it's hard to get, we've got part of the writs up there, but if you get in touch with us, we can send you the whole writ. And people, all this self-defense stuff, as a sovereign tribal originating person, everything I've done with this stuff here, you individually can do.
Okay.
Until the tribes get out, until we get our tribes act together, individuals should act as a sovereign person to take out writs on the place. And use it in the courts. Stop them, stop the kids, stop all the people going to jail.
So basically, Dan,
But
we
that's
can-
self-defence
we
taken.
can get copies of this statement, or take a
Of
copy of this
you
back home.
today?
Yeah, all you
Make
have to do
copies
is
of it.
say, you're part of my family, and hand the document up.
Okay.
And they'll sue themselves.
Uncle
you.
Dennis, before you go, us three elders, you might just say a few words on behalf of Hardy coming down here,
Yes.
which I appreciate very, very much.
Yes, I'd like
I'm none of all
to move a
women.
vote of thanks for Auntie for coming down, because she's very old and frail,
Yes,
and she thought I was dead, actually.
yes.
Yes,
Not gonna let it
I
go.
am, yeah, I'd like to confirm that again. I am alive.